Aesop stories.
Number 16. Milo the Mole and His Mom. In a cozy underground burrow, there lived a young mole named Milo. Moles are small animals that usually can't see because they spend most of their time underground. Milo, like all moles, was blind from birth, but he had a strong sense of smell and could feel things very well. One day Milo said to his mom, "Mom, I think I can see." His mom knew that moles couldn't see, but she wanted to gently show Milo that he was mistaken. His mom thought of a plan. She found a few grains of a sweet-smelling thing called frankincense. Frankincense smells very nice and is nothing like a rock or stone. She put the frankincense in front of Milo and asked, "Milo, what do you think this is?" Milo sniffed and felt around. Then he said, "It's a pebble." Milo was sure he was right. He thought he could see the pebble, but his mom knew that Milo couldn't see the frankincense. She was a little sad, but wanted to help Milo understand. She said, "My dear Milo, I think you are not only blind, but you might have lost your sense of smell too." Milo was surprised. He thought for a moment and realized his mom was right. He couldn't see the frankincense, and he didn't smell it correctly. Milo's mom hugged him. She said, "It's okay, Milo. Moles can't see, but we have other strong senses. We can smell and feel things very well. That's how we know about the world around us." Milo understood. He learned that even though he couldn't see, he could use his other senses to know and enjoy the world. He started to pay more attention to his sense of smell and touch. Milo became very good at smelling and feeling things. He could tell what something was just by smelling or touching it. He knew all the different smells in the burrow and could find his way easily. The story of Milo and his mom taught all the young moles in the burrow an important lesson. They learned that even if you can't do one thing, you can do many other things well. Milo was happy. He loved his mom and was glad she helped him understand. He enjoyed exploring the burrow with his sense of smell and touch. He no longer worried about seeing, and Milo's mom was proud of him. She knew Milo was a smart and special mole who would do great things even without seeing. She was happy to see him confident and exploring the world in his own way. Number 17. The Shepherd and the Missing Calf. In a peaceful forest, there lived a shepherd named Sam. Sam took care of many sheep and loved his little flock. Among them was a young calf he was especially fond of. One day, while Sam was watching his flock, he noticed the calf was missing. Sam searched the forest high and low for the missing calf. He looked behind trees, under bushes, and in the meadows, but the calf was nowhere to be found. Feeling worried and tired, Sam made a promise. He said, "If I find who took my calf, I will give a lamb as a thank you to the forest guardian spirits." After much searching, Sam climbed a small hill. From the top, he saw a sight that stopped him in his tracks. There at the bottom of the hill was a big lion. The lion was eating something. Sam looked closer and realized it was his missing calf. Sam was scared. He never thought a lion would take his calf. Sam looked up at the sky and said, "I promised to give a lamb if I found who took my calf. But now, seeing it's a lion, I'd give a whole bull just to be safe from him." Sam knew he couldn't face a lion, so he slowly backed away, leaving the lion to its meal. Feeling sad but relieved to be safe, Sam returned to his flock. He missed the calf but was thankful for his own safety. From then on, Sam was more careful with his flock, always making sure they were safe from danger. Sam learned that the forest had many surprises, some good and some not so good. He also learned that sometimes it's better to be safe and let go, even if it means losing something you care about. And so, life in the forest went on, with Sam and his flock living peacefully, always remembering the lesson of the missing calf and the lion. Number 18. The Rabbit and the Turtle's Race. In a sunny field, there lived a speedy rabbit named Rosie. Rosie was known for being the fastest animal in the field. One day, Rosie saw Timmy the turtle moving slowly across the field. Rosie laughed and said, "You're so slow, Timmy. I could beat you in a race any day." Timmy the turtle looked up and replied with a smile, "Rosie, you may be fast, but I bet I can win a race against you." Rosie was so surprised, she thought Timmy must be joking. "Okay, Timmy," said Rosie. "Let's have a race and see who wins." They decided to ask Freddie the Fox to set the race path and the finish line. Freddie marked the path and the finish line for their race. All the animals in the field gathered to watch the race. On the day of the race, Rosie and Timmy stood at the starting line. "Ready, set, go," shouted Freddie. Rosie zoomed off, leaving Timmy far behind. Rosie was so fast that she soon couldn't see Timmy anymore. Feeling confident and a bit tired, Rosie decided to take a nap. "I'm so far ahead, a short nap won't hurt," she thought. Meanwhile, Timmy kept moving forward. He was slow, but he didn't stop. After a while, Rosie woke up from her nap. She looked around and didn't see Timmy. "I must be way ahead," she thought. She started running towards the finish line. But when Rosie got closer to the finish line, she couldn't believe her eyes. There was Timmy, crossing the finish line. All the animals cheered for Timmy. Rosie arrived at the finish line, surprised and a little embarrassed. Timmy was slow but steady, and that's how he won the race. Rosie learned an important lesson that day. Being fast doesn't always mean you'll win. It's important to keep going and not stop. Rosie congratulated Timmy on his win. She was happy for her friend. From that day on, Rosie remembered to keep going and not underestimate others, no matter how slow they might seem. The story of Rosie the Rabbit and Timmy the Turtle's race became a famous tale in the field. It taught all the animals that slow and steady can win the race. Everyone remembered that it's not just about how fast you are, but also about how you keep going without stopping.
Number 19. The Tale of Three Garden Friends. In a lovely garden, there were three friends. Penny the pomegranate tree, Andy the apple tree, and Barry the bramble. Penny and Andy were always admired for their beauty. Penny had bright red fruits and green leaves, while Andy had juicy apples and a strong trunk. One sunny day, Penny and Andy began arguing about who was the most beautiful in the garden. Penny boasted, "Look at my shiny red fruits. Surely I am the most beautiful." Andy disagreed, saying, "No, my round apples and thick branches make me the most beautiful." Their argument grew louder and louder. The other plants in the garden started to watch, but no one dared to speak. As Penny and Andy continued to argue, they didn't notice Barry the bramble listening from the nearby hedge. Barry, who was often overlooked because of his thorns and tangled branches, finally spoke up. He said, "Dear friends, why argue about beauty? Each of us is unique and beautiful in our way." His voice was calm but firm. Penny and Andy stopped arguing and looked at Barry. They had never heard him speak like this before. Barry continued, "Penny, your fruits are indeed lovely, and Andy, your apples are splendid. But beauty isn't just about how we look. It's also about what we give to the garden. Each of us has something special to offer." Barry's words made Penny and Andy think. Penny realized that her fruits were not just pretty. They also provided sweet juices. Andy understood that his apples not only looked good but also gave shade and food. And Barry, with his tangled branches, offered a safe home for birds and small creatures. The three friends smiled at each other, feeling silly about their argument. They agreed that beauty was more than just appearance. It was about being helpful and bringing joy to others in the garden. From that day, Penny, Andy, and Barry never argued about beauty again. Instead, they focused on being the best they could be, offering their gifts to the garden and its inhabitants. The story of the three garden friends spread among the plants, reminding them that every plant, tree, and bush had its unique beauty and purpose. They learned to appreciate each other's differences and to live together in harmony. The garden became a place where every plant, no matter how big, small, or thorny, was valued and cherished. And Penny, Andy, and Barry remained good friends, always remembering the lesson they learned about the true meaning of beauty. Number 20. The Tale of Farmer Joe and Sidney the Stork. In a small village, there was a hard-working farmer named Joe. Joe had just planted seeds in his field. To protect his seeds from the birds, he set up nets all over the field. Many birds came to eat the seeds, but they got caught in Joe's nets. Among these birds were some cranes and one stork named Sidney. Sidney the stork was not like the cranes. He had a long, slender neck and beautiful feathers. But one day, while flying over the field, Sidney didn't see the net and got caught. Worse, he hurt his leg in the net. When Farmer Joe came to check his nets, he found the birds and began to take them away. That's when he saw Sidney, who looked very different from the cranes. Sidney spoke up. "Please, kind farmer, let me go. I am not a crane who steals seeds. I am a stork. I am known for being good and helpful. I take care of my parents and work hard." Sidney continued, "Look at my leg, it's hurt. And look at my feathers, they are not like those of a crane." But Farmer Joe laughed and said, "You may be a stork and not a crane, but you were caught with the cranes. I cannot let you go." Sidney was sad. He tried to explain that he was not there to steal seeds, but just happened to fly over the field. But Farmer Joe did not change his mind. He believed that Sidney, being with the cranes, must be like them. Finally, Farmer Joe left with the cranes and Sidney, who was still pleading for his release. Sidney learned a tough lesson that day. Even though he was different from the cranes, being with them in the wrong place at the wrong time brought him the same fate. The story of Farmer Joe and Sidney the stork spread in the village. The villagers talked about how important it is to be careful of the company one keeps. They realized that sometimes being in the wrong place with the wrong crowd could lead to misunderstandings. Farmer Joe, after thinking about Sidney's words, felt a bit sorry. He knew Sidney was different from the cranes. From then on, he decided to be more careful in judging animals and birds based on who they were with. Sidney, once he was freed, was more cautious. He made sure to keep away from places where trouble could happen, even by accident. He remembered his time in the net and how easily misunderstandings could occur. The tale of Sidney and the cranes became a lesson for all in the village. It reminded them to consider individual actions and characters, not just the group they are found with. And for Sidney, it was a reminder of the importance of being in the right place at the right time.